Okay, so today we're going to be talking about murder mysteries, specifically motives for murder, so that way your murder mystery can be properly done from the villain's standpoint. Obviously, you need to have a good villain, otherwise your murder mystery is just going to be sad. So, that being said, though, we're going to talk about the contest first. Reminder that everything is due on July 31st for the summer contest. As far as that goes, we also got permission to do a grand prize winner in January. So for every contest that you enter, you will have one ticket to be entered into a raffle in January. You do have to be there, though, in order to claim your raffle prize. And the raffle prize is a $15 gift card if you get drawn. Amazon. Let's specify. Amazon, $15 gift card. And then if you get the, we're going to have a grand prize, which is going to be for both age categories, adult and teen, who's ever the best out of those two age categories for the whole year. And then we're going to have a runner-up adult and a runner-up teen. The runner-up adult and teen are going to get Amazon $25 gift cards, and the grand prize, if you get the best story of the entire year, is going to be a $50 Amazon gift card. So, very exciting. I'm very, very happy that we were able to do that. So, let's move back into murder mystery. Murder mystery. One of my favorite genres to put on in the background and kind of just tune out to. Hello! Because of the fact that it's intriguing, but you also know what's going to happen, right? You know that there will be a murder. You know that they are going to catch the murderer. Yay! Or unless you're writing a horror novel, in which case they don't catch the murderer and they run around loose and scare everyone. But that's a different genre. We're talking about murder mystery today. Alright, so the most common murder mystery motive is accidental. You know, someone runs someone over with their car on accident when they're drunk, and then they go, oh crap, I ran someone over, and instead of turning themselves in, they run away. Therefore, murder mystery. It's a mystery because we don't know who did it. All other common accident ones is people get really, really mad at someone and they like shove them and they fall down the stairs. Totally accidental. Person freaks out, runs away. Therefore, it's a mystery now. Don't know who did it. This is the most common motive for murder, funnily enough, because it's not really a motive. It's just someone got really frustrated or angry or drunk or etc., and bad stuff happens, because that's part of life, unfortunately. So I would say if you're going to write a murder mystery series, for example, like the TV series, you know, where they have dozens and dozens of murders or something, you're going to want to have the majority of them be accidental, more than likely, because of the fact that that's just realistic. Unless you're doing a specific type of crime unit, where it's like, we only solve homicides in actual, like, they intended to murder someone, it wasn't an accident. In that case, then you can have them be less frequent, but just know that it's still going to happen quite frequently, where it looks intentional and it's not. Alright, now let's get into motives for murder when you aren't investigating an accidental murder. The next one we're going to talk about is revenge. So, this one's a classic one, you know, lots of stories do this even when it's not a murder mystery, you know. You killed my father, prepare to die. You know, that kind of classic stuff. The issue with revenge is you need to make sure that the motive is solid. It's not just like, you killed my hamster. If you murder someone over killing your hamster, you've got problems. I'm sorry, the hamster's adorable, the hamster's great, but you don't need vengeance over your hamster. You want to make sure it's something worthy of vengeance. For example, a show that I was watching recently, his revenge was getting people that he felt caused car accidents for whatever reason, whether they had said, hey, we don't want to put a stoplight in there, and then an accident happened and people died, or the person did a hit and run and then ran off and got away with it. He would then find those people and then try to kill them in revenge.
Revenge! I love this thing!
But yes, we're talking about murder mystery motives, and one of them is revenge.
Actually, so handy!
But yes, so, with revenge, vengeance, make sure that it changed their life drastically. It's got to really affect them in a very deep and profound way. The best way to make sure that you demonstrate this is to have the relationship before they die. Even if it's for like 5 minutes of the story, if you have those 5 minutes, do I need to give you 5 minutes for a second?
I feel like you need to give him 15 minutes.
Almost there, we got it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm for like battle life right now. Don't worry.
That's okay. All right, so even if you show us 5 minutes, like for example, if you have this cute young couple in love and they're all like snuggly and you're like, oh, they're adorable. If you show that for at least 5 minutes, if it would be cinematically 5 minutes, not like reading-wise 5 minutes. But let's say, like when you read it out loud, it would take you at least 5 minutes for this scene to read it out loud. That's kind of what I'm going for. Then that's the perfect amount of time to be like, this is a great relationship, and then immediately have one of them get murdered and vengeance needs to happen. Well, needs is a strong word, but in their opinion, it needs to happen. In the character's opinion, this is necessary. So you gotta make sure you show those relationships beforehand, or if you don't show those relationships beforehand as they're solving it, they're feeling empathy for the person taking vengeance, because you can feel empathy for someone taking vengeance. Even if they're doing the wrong thing, you can go, man, I really understand. I would be really upset in that situation. I wouldn't murder someone, but like, I can really understand that you're very upset, you know? So that kind of empathy can also go a long way towards helping show the person's need for vengeance. All right, next, we have crimes of passion. This is when someone goes, I love you so much, and the other person goes, what? You're in love with me? I don't like you at all. And then they go, what? And they blow up. or alternatively, the person goes, I love you so much, and then they discover that they are cheating on them with someone else, and they go, what? And then they get really, really angry and they do something stupid. Again, crimes of passion are very much another common motive for murder because people feel things so deeply, right? We feel things in our soul and we feel this connection to this person, and then this other person takes them away from us for some reason. You're bound to get mad. That's understandably something you'd get mad about. With crimes of passion, generally they aren't thinking in the right mindset, so I would highly recommend, like, with vengeance, it would make sense that they'd, like, cover up the murder in a very elaborate sort of way, because they don't want to get caught. But with crimes of passion, typically they go, I just did that. I just killed a person. Oh, crap. And as a result, they will probably try not to cover it up, and they'll just book it out of there. Or if they do try to cover it up, it will be a very sloppy cover-up. You know, like, the gasoline fire, and then run away. So it's very likely that with crimes of passion, they won't be, like, very, like I said, methodical, like, oh, let's bury it in this specific wasteland or whatever, and they'll never find it. Like, not likely, because this is something that happened out of a gut instinct reaction, not something that they planned beforehand. Was that a question? Or
no?
Okay. I turned around so fast I wasn't sure if you were raising your hand or not. All right, the next common motive is fear. So this is also very common, because when we are afraid, we do drastic things sometimes. Like, I don't know about you, but whenever someone jump scares me and I scream, or sometimes I maybe even go, don't do that to me, and I, you smack them on the shoulder, and you're like, geez. Fear can very much do that for people. If, for example, again, I watch way too much murder mystery, which is why this is a great lesson for me today. There was someone who killed someone out of fear because of the fact that they were being stalked by this person. And so once they figured out who was stalking them, they went, hey, stop stalking me. And the person went, no. And she went, and they tried to grab her leg. And so she went, ah! And accidentally killed them because they were freaked out about the fact that this person just grabbed their leg. They were like, no, I don't like this. Exactly. I'm like,
you're
like, freaked out. No, go away. Like, yeah, for her it was a total accident. She just grabbed his camera and was like, whack.
Oh, solid.
So,
respect.
Yep. But yeah, so fear can cause us to do things, again, that we don't necessarily expect. This, again, probably will lead to people not covering the murder up very well, or if they cover it up at all. In this case, she didn't even try to cover it up. She was just like, I'm running up, I'm out. But there are some times where people get so afraid that when they act out of that fear and kill the person on accident, they go, oh, wait, shoot, I'm now afraid of getting in jail, and therefore they try to cover it up a little bit. Probably won't do a very good job again, but they will probably at least try.
Yeah, hard to nicely bury the body and kind of landscape the lawn again if your hands are shaking because you just killed someone.
Right, if you're super scared and super afraid, it's going to be really difficult to cover up that evidence without making a total mess. So, it is likely that with fear motives, you're not going to have a very cleaned up crime scene. Alright, next is anger. Very similar to crime of passion, but not quite the same. This one can be numerous different types of anger. It can be anger at someone for doing something. It can be anger at someone for telling your secret. It can be anger at someone for deciding that you weren't good enough and rejecting you. It could be all sorts of things. This all can fit within the other categories, but the reason it's different is because sometimes people are violent people and they have anger issues and they lash out and they don't realize it until afterwards, and then they go, oh crap, I just did that. I am so sorry, except in this case you can't say sorry because they're dead. But
just apologizing to the dead body.
I'm so sorry. Wait, you're dead. Oh, what?
Like, so I kind of killed you, and that's my bad. But rest in peace.
See, now that just makes it sound like an assassin, where it's like, oh, I was totally trying to aim for the other guy. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna use that now. Like, just apologizing to this guy's body. Oh my gosh,
that's amazing.
Just this very polite assassin. Just like, so I was totally aiming for the other guy. I'm so sorry, buddy. Moving on.
What kind of assassin is that? That'd be me, dude. If I were ever an assassin, I would like very politely apologize to my victim. I'm like, okay, no, you seem like a really great guy, but so-and-so wants you dead, so like, I'm sorry, but not really.
But also money.
But I got to keep it on the table, I've got kids, I'm really sorry, but also die. You know?
Funnily enough, that is our next motive, is money. So, that works out.
Guys, I'm so good.
That was perfect segue. So, money is another great motivator. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff people would do for money, especially if they are strapped for cash, or if they really are in debt to someone that they're afraid of. For example, if someone's like, hey, I'm in debt $200,000 to this mafia boss because I played poker with him and I was dumb. Then they also might go, so-and-so has $200,000. They really don't need $200,000. And they're like, 85 years old. What if I just pretended it was a heart attack by poisoning them? That definitely could happen.
Low-key stress, though.
That definitely could happen, where someone's so afraid of owing money to other people that they actually do terrible things to get that money. Or alternatively, they just straight up want the money for a different reason. For example, maybe they have a mother who is incredibly sick, and the only way to get the treatment is a certain amount of money, otherwise they don't have it and they can't get that treatment. Someone might genuinely go, hey, I saw that guy in the bank the other day and he has a lot of money, so I'm going to go do a bank heist now, and you end up killing people during your bank heist. That's killing for money. Again, your motive can be a good motive, but there's never a good enough motive for murder, in my opinion. Even if they are a horrible person, that you should just turn them into the police. Don't kill people. Even if they're a serial killer and you know they're a serial killer, just turn in the evidence you have to the police, please, for a record.
Though there are going to be very few times I will justify an actual murder.
Self-defense is all self-defense. That is fair. That is a good one.
I also feel like if Hitler wasn't a coward and he went through trial and everything and decided no, you actually kind of have to die, I get behind that, personally.
Right, but that, like, go through the justice system.
Yeah.
Don't just murder
Justice
people.
system first.
Yes.
No, like, actually you're a bad guy, so I'm gonna go on a killing spree. Like, that's
Yeah.
not...
No,
that's
it's not okay. Yes. Unless you are the villain, in which case it's okay so the hero can catch you.
Yeah.
But that's a different story. The next one is power.
Oh, okay. That makes
So,
sense.
for example, in a fantasy novel, if someone could kill someone and then gain their power, 100%, there'd be a lot of murder.
But Lord Arcanum, I actually have that in my stories.
It's very cool. But anyway, so there's also power, though, in non-physical ways. For example, if someone is, let's say, going to win an election or going of some sort. I know that's a bad timing, but like that is a thing where people try to kill people to get the other person to win elections, as we experienced this last Saturday. How killing for power is very much a thing. Not saying that Biden did it, just saying people do kill to get other people in power. That is very much a motive. It's a scary motive, but it is very much a motive that people have. Or even in just like a banking company. For example, if someone's like, hey, I think I really deserve this promotion, right? And I really think this is a good promotion for me and it's going to make you a lot of money. And then the person says, no, I'm going to hire Steve. And you're like, Steve is an idiot. And you get really upset. And so as a result, in order to gain that power position, you might kill off Steve.
I know.
Yes.
It's like, Steve, let's go for drinks, I'm buying.
Yes.
See,
And then
you
poison.
would do what?
What were you going to say?
Hey, what? Poor Steve.
Poor Steve. I don't know.
I
It's the
think
first name I came up
that the
with.
power thing is very. I've seen it in a lot of stories.
Yeah.
I think one that would be very obvious, common, but yet good for power.
Yeah.
Say monarchy.
Yes.
The prince wants to be the king, so he kills his father.
Exactly.
That
He
kind of
kills
stuff.
his father or mother or whatever to be the king. Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, Lion King does.
Lion King does that. I mean, heck, even Hans did that. It was freaking Frozen. So, like, murder for power is very much a thing. It is scarily much a thing. So, that is yet another potential motive. Now we're going to talk about the mindset of said.
Cute.
So,
If I
Let
were
us see.
confused, then I'm
So-
like that.
I'm going to be very generalized, so just know this is very generalized, not specific at all. So if you relate to this, this is too generalized to possibly know because there's like a list of 20 different things that you need to also qualify for. This is just general. So,
Which means, Michael, even if you relate to all of these, you are not a serial killer. I'm
exactly.
saying this in advance.
Good to clarify that just because you're like, that sounds slightly relatable. No, there, like I said, you have to have at least, I believe it's like 18 out of the 20 things in order to be classified as this. So like, there's a long list. Anyway, because I did go over this in extensive length. So with most of these motives, you're just gonna have the average run-of-the-mill person whose emotions are running way higher than their logic. Their emotions are this big and their logic is this big right now. That's the most common theory. However, there are some people who kill a lot of people and they kill a lot of people because they are, quite frankly, a little off.
A little?
So,
I feel like I'd be like just flat and like, no, they're a psycho. Because that's the kind of person I am. I'm kind of freak.
Sociopath. What's it?
I love sociopaths.
oh gosh, I do not. As someone who knows one, I do not.
Well, you know sociopath.
You
kind of
yes.
sticks out.
But anyway, that being said, so sociopathy versus psychopathy. This is actually a very important thing to distinguish because if you're writing a villain that is one of these two things, you don't want to accidentally say they are a sociopath and they're in reality a psychopath. That makes you look bad as an author. So you've got to make sure you get the right one.
Last year, my friend and I actually looked up the difference between it, like
It's
in
extensive.
school, and the teacher let us. And
Yeah,
like, that was
it's a lot of it. There's a drastic difference between the two.
Oh, yeah.
But the most basic difference, since I'm not going to try to go too deep into it, sociopaths struggle more with their relationships because they believe that they are perfect and always right. They generally tend to have narcissism. And so as a result, they're always like, it's your fault that the thing broke. And you're like, you literally broke the thing. And they're like, no, your fault. That is definitely a sign. Not, like I said, there's like 20 different signs, so don't just, but
Michael,
they also
I will
struggle.
say again, you are not a killer.
They also struggle with building relationships. And when I say they struggle with building relationships, they struggle because of the fact that they believe that they are always right and they are always perfect, which does not go well in relationships. They generally, even if the relationship is going well, they might put on a little bit of a mask and be like, everything's fine. And then later they're like, I actually secretly hate your guts. And you're like, where'd that come from? I thought we were good, bro. Like, I thought everything was fine, and yet you're telling me that I am a horrible person, and you always have thought that. But you were so nice to me. What the heck? Yeah.
That could be another, like, okay,
Yeah.
So hear me out. We've got an assassin, right? He was paid to take out this person.
Yep.
And so he, like, pretended to like him, even though he was like, mortal enemy, you killed my mom, or whatever.
That is fair.
And so, like, I hate your guts, but then again, I have to be nice to you because I want to kill you later.
Also,
that would be amazing. I love that.
Oh my goodness. Motives for murder.
That is good.
But yes, then you also have psychopaths. So psychopaths can actually form attachments. But generally, they only like to form attachments with people that are like-minded of them. For example, if you have a psychopath who is super, super into saving the planet at any cost, including murder. Kind of, yeah. And then they meet someone who says, I want to save the planet at any cost, but they don't say murder. They go, that's close enough. Let's be friends. And so they'll actually be able to form attachments just fine. These are in some ways the scarier of the two, because with sociopaths, you generally know something's wrong because they're kind of, like I said, self-absorbed, rude. You don't quite understand what's wrong in the relationship because you keep trying to be nice and they just keep being a jerk. You get way less than you give out of that relationship. And then there's the psychopaths. The psychopaths can actually cover up that they are crazy. Which is why they're the scarier of the two, because of the fact that they can seem like a perfectly normal person who you're sitting with and you're just like, they're great, and then the next moment all of a sudden they're like, guess what, you know how you said you wanted to save the planet? Well, the best way to save the planet is to put a bomb in this building. And the person's like, what? What? Just where did that come from?
Let's go save the planet and blow up town square.
Woo! And
All right, I'm coming too.
Yeah, so that's when it comes out of left field and they go from being very, very normal to being very not normal, that would be a psychopath. When the whole time you're kind of going, something's wrong, but I don't know what. Sociopath.
And it could be psychopathic here.
And that's why I say they're a little off, is because of the fact that sociopaths and psychopaths both can function in society and be perfectly good people. But they do have a tendency to go off the deep end a lot more easily because of being off. It doesn't mean you will go off the deep end if you have any sort of sociopathic tendencies. There are lots of people with sociopathic tendencies that raise families and have good lives. Like, they might have a difficulty developing relationships and keeping relationships and having narcissism, but they can still function. The reason that these are important to talk about with crime is because of the fact that if they go off the deep end, they go off the deep end hard. It's not just, oh, I killed one person. It's like, I killed one person, might as well kill them all. And it's like, okay, okay, too far. And that's where this tends to be a problem, is that people with these tendencies can be perfectly healthy and wonderful people, and you might never know that they have these tendencies. You might have no idea. But if they go off the deep end, they tend to go full swing into the deep end. Yes, so just, I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that psychopaths or sociopaths are bad people. I'm just saying that that does tend to be something we talk about in murder mystery fiction because it can happen. Now, fun fact. We're going to talk about serial killers for a minute.
You?
Oh my gosh. You're freaking me out.
Okay, not gonna lie, every time I think of serial killers, like a clown comes up in my mind.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know why.
It's probably because of Stephen King. He's one of the first
Probably,
people
yeah.
to wrote serial killer clowns.
So it's like every time it's just clown.
I'm a
Clown.
serial killer because I eat cereal.
Because I eat cereal.
Same!
Anyway,
Very
so
funny.
serial killers often in
Never
murder
heard that
mystery
one
novels
before.
are portrayed as being psychopaths or sociopaths. And even though that can be the case, it's actually not always the case. Sometimes it's someone who just had a really traumatic childhood, didn't process it well, and processed it entirely badly. So actually it's usually PTSD and trauma. It's not usually sociopathy or psychopathy, funnily enough. I even did extensive Googling on, is it typically sociopaths or psychopaths or neither? And it was typically neither, actually. Every once in a while a sociopath or a psychopath is a serial killer, but it's so rare, actually. It's usually just someone with a lot of trauma who hasn't properly dealt with it. Because you can you can have a lot of trauma and hard things that happen in your life, or PTSD during war times or abuse or different situations, and you can process it healthily and become a very wonderful person. Or you can handle it unhealthily and become kind of scary. But that's not common. And serial killers, I believe, are like 1 in every 100 people. It's not common. And even then, 1 in 100 people could become a serial killer. It's more like 1 in 2 million that actually become one. So, that being said.
One could kill 2 million, so.
So, oh boy. Scared.
That would be impressive that they didn't get caught.
Yeah, right? Anyway.
I feel like we have a really
would be a
good like
bad
law
impressive.
enforcement justice system where like after enough murders they'd be like, yeah, no, this seems to be a recurring theme, which means that you're like in jail. Like, bye.
Or else I do it good.
Anyway.
Yeah, but what are they gonna do it with?
Hit him. So, the stereotype for the typical stereotype, and when I say stereotype, it makes it sound like it's not true, but in this case, it is true. Most studies say serial killers are often loners who fear relationships due to previous rejection or sometimes trauma, and seek to control or destroy people to eliminate the possibility of another humiliating rejection. So it is actually really deep. It is very extreme. Hence why I was like,
That's
yes,
awesome.
there are lots of people who have there are lots of people who have the potential to get there, but they healthily get help and therapy and don't get there. Hence why it's like 1 in 2 million people that actually have the potential to become a serial killer. And even then, most of them get caught after like their 3rd person. So generally not a problem. But that being said, many, or at least part of the populace of serial killers that have been documented throughout time are motivated actually partially by the attention and fame that they get. Because of the fact
That actually makes a lot
that
of
they
sense.
exactly they are so rejected by all these relationships that it's finally a relationship where they aren't getting rejected and instead they're being rewarded and they're getting all this attention and they're getting all this fame. It's bad fame and bad attention, but as the saying goes, some people believe that any attention is good attention. That's why sometimes little kids throw tantrums, because they don't know how to call for attention, so they just throw a tantrum so they can get any attention.
So
even if
that's
it's bad.
why Harmony exists.
But because little kids don't know how to process it. Once you're an adult, most people know how to process it, but some people never learn. The very rare few, like the 1% of the population, doesn't figure it out. That being said, with this kind of a murder mystery novel, I would say that most of the time these are average people who are just very, very, very traumatized, and as a result are trying to seek fame and attention in an unhealthy way. So I would highly recommend, if you are writing a serial killer for your murder mystery novel, make sure that you don't make it like, oh yes, I'm the perfect psychopath. Most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time it's someone who is very, very broken. So figure out, why are they broken? Why are they doing this? Especially because most serial killers have a type. And the reason they have a type is because it reminds them of whatever trauma they're dealing with. For example, in one of the many crime shows that I've watched, too many, there was one person who was a serial killer, and they specifically killed people who were really, really rude, mean, jerkish people because of the fact that they had dealt with abuse in their lifetime. And so when they saw these people being super mean and rude and jerkish, they went, that person doesn't deserve to live because they're probably an abuser, die. And it's like, that's pretty drastic logic. But at the same time, it's because of trauma that they don't process that right. So generally, make sure that your serial killer isn't just killing at random. That's not a serial killer. That's just a crazy person. If they are a true serial killer, they will have a type, and they will usually be a similar age, similar race, and similar emotional profile to whoever it was that caused the problem in their life earlier on. Or alternatively, if that person caused them to fear that type of person. So for example, if it was a father who was like, hey, all of this specific gender or race is bad, then that person may later not be able to properly process that and start being a serial killer of that specific gender or race. It's not okay, but at the same time, that is generally what happens with serial killers. Off of that very serious, scary topic. The last thing we're going to talk about today is cozy mystery novels, because that is out still in the murder mystery realm, but different. So cozy mystery novels typically don't go super into detail about the villain or super into detail about the murder. It's like, oh no, so-and-so's been murdered. That's it. And then they solve the murder, and then by the time they solve the murder, it's like, oh no, I can't believe it was so-and-so, and that's it. It's not really super dramatic. It's not really super high tension. It's more about, let's solve a murder while also laughing and having fun along the way. Kind of like, for example, funnily enough, it's going to sound weird when I say it's a cozy mystery, but Psych, the TV show, is actually a cozy mystery. The reason why is because they don't really focus on the dead bodies all that much. And you also know the entire cast, which is usually the case in cozy mysteries. You know the entire cast, you know everyone, you know all their names, you're familiar with them. And then last of all, they generally are very funny and lighthearted, and even when they're like trying to catch the murderer, when Gus runs off in fear and is like screaming, and Sean's all like, "Don't leave me behind," and then runs after him, like, that's very funny, and it makes you laugh, even though there's this very dark thing going on. That's what a cozy mystery is where you try to put light humor stuff and light feelings into an otherwise darker subject, so it's more palatable and it's a lot more fun to read for those of us that don't like dark stuff.
If y'all like cozy mysteries, watch Monk. It's also
that's also true.
Fantastic.
It's also a pretty dang good cozy mystery from what I've heard, where it's very funny, very lighthearted. They try to generally gloss over the death part and just focus on them solving the murder part. Yeah, exactly.
I love Monk. It's so good.
So,
I'm just gonna go.
no, that's not a murder mystery.
It's really not.
Anyway,
sucks.
let's focus. Anyway, we can all have different opinions. So, that being said,
That's a mom.
that being said, do you guys have any questions regarding murder mysteries / motives for murder mysteries, or should I turn the video off and we should all just relax?
How easy is it for police to catch people? Asking for a friend.
If they're trying to catch you or any of your friends, really dang easy.
Anyway, as far as that goes, the funny thing is that it depends on how well the crime is covered up. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that obviously the more decayed the body is, the harder it's going to be to identify. Doesn't mean they can't, though. They can still identify the body if it is, let's say, just bones. They can still identify a body with just bones, but it is going to take way longer than it is if they are still 99% intact, freshly dead. Because of the fact that they can't just be like, go through our database and find the person who, is connected to this DNA sample. Typically with bones, it's more like we have to try and guess based on their facial structure what they look like and what race they were and what age they were, etc. And even then there can be weird things like, for example, scoliosis or things like that that can change the way your bone structure works that makes it so it's harder to identify you. That being said, though, I would say that as far as that goes, people act like burning a body is the best way to dispose of a body.
They can still catch
Probably
you.
not. They can still catch you. So long story short, if you're wanting to write a murder mystery novel and have them not get caught or come close to not getting caught, don't just have them burn the bodies all the time. That's very unoriginal. 1 or 2's fine, but like if every body is burned, it's like really like
They're always a very chasm.
right, like chasms, or acid can also be a really good one. Or I mean, heck, there's all sorts of. I'm sorry, we're gonna get off this topic. Point being that if you're writing a murder mystery novel, there are lots of things that you can do to prevent people from solving the murder, if that's what you're going
Get creative.
for. Yeah. I know. This is a very weird topic. I'm definitely going to put an age restriction on this and be like, by the way, we talk about murder. So, but yes. So, long story short, with murder mystery novels, it's important you do your research, which is going to make your search history look real heckin' weird.
It looks weird already. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, but if you're a writer, you're probably gonna look weird already. The other day, I was editing something and I was like Googling how thick a piece of wood has to be in order to break bones, because the person had like smacked them with a piece of wood and then it was like the bones went crack, and I was like, would they though? That's a small piece of wood, and so I was like Googling that. Yeah, it's very weird.
well, I mean, like all my like is like. Insert, whatever weird, gruesome thing, like, here. Like, would this be possible?
Right.
Have, like, a whole chain of those.
Yeah, there's a lot. Anyway, it is funny, though.
Right.
That's why people
Yeah, I
teasingly
searched that
say,
up
like,
for you.
what if, like, a
Well, no, I searched that up for
crazy
me and I
person
told you.
and a writer, like, started dating and they, like, gave each other ideas. And, like, it was, like, there's lots of memes about that because of the fact that it's kind of a funny concept.
Just
That
like,
we're probably
hey,
Googling
honey,
the
can
same
you
stuff.
find out if this is possible? Yeah, I'll be right back. Turns
I
out
will
it is.
I will say, if you want the person to not get caught, they have to have the knowledge already. If they would not already have that knowledge, they probably will get caught because they probably will have Googled it. And they do track your Google history, yes, even your incognito tabs. The FBI also tracks
Hear me out.
incognito tabs. They're not as incognito as everyone thinks. So, my point is, if they dunk them in acid, they have to have access to acid and they have to know that it will actually work. So they probably have to be a chemist of some sort.
Oh.
So
You're not going to want them to be like your average person, because the average person wouldn't know that.
because he was a
They might know that
that's
acid would work, but they wouldn't have access to the acid. How would they get that acid? How would they know how long it's going to take? All these different questions. You'd have to be a chemist to know most of these answers. Which is why you need to make sure that's part of how they catch them too, though, is they say they would have the knowledge. Yes. So do your research, make sure who would have access to those kinds of things, and who would know about those kinds of things too. What kind of person.
I even have a contact for that. Guys, I'm amazing.
Wait. Really sure?
No, I was talking about Andrew.
I don't know who we're talking about, but anyway.
Bro!
Okay.
Well,
I'm going to turn off the video now.
Yes!
If any of you want to ask me any
guys,
questions
a
about writing,
quiz.
please do. And again, if you're interested in our writing contest, it is due on the 31st, so you still have 16 days to finish that up and turn that in.
Oh, yeah. I should maybe
so-
write that.
Please let me know if you would like a form for that, or if you already have the form, if you need any help. I'm going to turn the video off now.